This summer, we learned that certain Ubisoft employees did not uphold our company's values, and that our systems failed to protect the victims of their behavior.
Requiescat in pace, you bastard.
Most players would probably agree that if we were going to spend 100 hours exploring an Assassin's Creed game, this is it. Ubisoft has shifted strategies when it comes to Assassin's Creed. The French company decided to release Assassin's Creed games that are smaller in scope and more linear, but that can be released on an annual basis, meaning we get to play a game in the series every single year. That started last year with a release of Assassin's Creed Mirage, which most people thought was middle of the road. In this video, we're going to talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows, discuss everything going on with Ubisoft, and explore the wider context of Assassin's Creed games to find out just why Assassin's Creed Shadows can't save the Assassin's Creed franchise from Ubisoft's grubby little fingers. Assassin's Creed Shadows is set in medieval Japan and will feature two playable characters, a Western man dressed in samurai armour called Yasuke and a female shinobi assassin called Naoe. The game is set during the 16th century when Japan first started encountering Western nations who turned up in ships. Yasuke and Naoe have different playstyles. Yasuke is a big hulking brute of a warrior in samurai armour. In the trailer, we see him wielding a huge club and taking on gangs of enemies. Meanwhile, Naoe is what we've come to expect from assassins in the series. She hides in the shadows and uses throwing weapons and the wrist blade to take down targets in silence. In the trailer, we see them attacking castles and fighting what we assume to be Templars or whatever we're calling them these days. And the trailer looks great. It's polished, it has shiny graphics, but we don't get to learn a lot in the way of story and gameplay. We'll probably see more during the Summer Game Fest period since the game launches this November. But this brings me to talk about the current state of Ubisoft and whether all of this is enough to satisfy Assassin's Creed fans and keep the series alive. Firstly, the Japan setting is one that gamers passionate about this series have been crying out for Ubisoft to make for years. Being a ninja in medieval Japan is just downright cool after all. But that's what sets alarm bells ringing in my head, because Ubisoft is finally using the ace up its sleeve. This is clearly the game idea they've been holding back on to wow us all with when things get tough or they run out of ideas. This leads me to their new strategy. Ubisoft itself has come out and said that they now intend to make their Assassin's Creed games shorter, more compact experiences that they can release yearly. This started last year with Assassin's Creed Mirage, which was set in 9th century Baghdad and the surrounding area. The game was around 20 hours long and followed a similar formula to the first ever Assassin's Creed game released on Xbox 360, where you're free to roam within a designated region, but you're limited to main quests, side quests, and boring activities no one cares about. This is in stark contrast to how Assassin's Creed games actually developed and what we saw in Odyssey and Valhalla, which became increasingly larger and had map markers popping up every 5 steps. Both online and within my own friend group, I've seen people get addicted to the huge open worlds the series became known for, especially when it came to Odyssey, which tasked you with hunting down dozens of bad guys in the endgame to 100% complete it and unlock the good stuff. While Ubisoft has been accused of bloating the Assassin's Creed franchise with unnecessary filler and level requirements within its missions to elongate their games, it feels like this smaller, more compressed approach is a huge swing in the wrong direction for the series. Having a smaller world and more focused storytelling that doesn't go on for hundreds of hours plus doesn't mean you've solved the franchise's problems. Take Mirage for example. It was a passable game with a fairly straightforward story. It wasn't compelling and it felt pretty generic to play. Now, some people liked it more and some people liked it less, but the point is that we can pretty much all agree that there wasn't anything outstanding about Mirage. Despite being the first Assassin's Creed game in the new development cycle that featured the new game structure, it was mechanically the same as all the other games. Mirage still had the dreaded Ubisoft towers that you have to climb, and it still had the same assassination styles we've played for almost 2 decades, where you walk and blend in with people, sit on a bench, deliver the coup de grace with a cute little cutscene.
Requiescat in pace, you bastard.
I don't think so.
You still unlocked regions and areas and used an eagle to scout ahead, just like we've done for thousands of hours before. Mirage, in the end, just a watered down version of a proper Assassin's Creed game. Assassin's Creed Shadows is set to repeat all the mistakes of Mirage, just with a Japanese veneer. I have no doubt that while the Japan setting will be cool and we've begged for it forever, ultimately we'll end up with another dumbed down Assassin's Creed game where you can only explore a small part of Japan itself. Making it worse, games like Ghost of Tsushima, which allow you the freedom and open world roaming to go anywhere and do interesting quests, are going to show just how small beans Assassin's Creed Shadows is if Ubisoft don't do anything new to wow us. Fans of the game on Reddit have been discussing Ubisoft's selling points for the game, with the company touting that you can create your own fully customizable hideout. The top comment on one thread, unsurprisingly, points out that we could already customize a whole village in Valhalla. Another Redditor in the same thread echoes what we've said here. Japan has always been the break glass in case of emergency game for when the series starts to dip. Thanks to another Redditor who put together this handy list of how much each Assassin's Creed sold, we can see that the series peaked with 3 and 4 and has been in a slow and steady decline since. Mirage still sold millions of copies, of course, but it was also the first in Ubisoft's shorter games, and so people were interested to check it out and yet to be burned. Therefore, we can't use Mirage's sales figures to prop up the new style of Assassin's Creed. Let's pause here. Don't get me wrong, I'm not here to say Assassin's Creed is terrible and that Shadows will be terrible. Instead, I'm here to discuss why Assassin's Creed Shadows might eventually kill the franchise, even if it dies a slow death. Why? Because this is the big one. Ubisoft has finally pulled the Japan reverse Uno card. And if it's a letdown and doesn't work, then where else can they go if they keep using the same formula? For me, as a player from the beginning, the series started to become less interesting when we stopped following Desmond Miles and his metaplot. Ever since Assassin's Creed 3 and 4, everything outside the Animus has been a bit stale and confusing. The gameplay has stagnated, and I'm finding it particularly boring that we're still climbing lookout points to get rid of the fog of war on the map. This is only exacerbated by the fact that Ubisoft are releasing Assassin's Creed games every year now. It's no coincidence that the best time in recent memory to be an Assassin's Creed fan was the period when Odyssey and Valhalla came out. Both of those games were huge, and in a strange move for Ubisoft, there was a 2-year gap between them, with Odyssey releasing in 2018 and Valhalla in 2020. This made it 2 years between hype cycles and allowed us the time to explore Odyssey's huge world to its fullest and then take a break and forget about the series for a little while. Then, when Valhalla was released, we were ready and excited for a game set in an interesting new time period and place. The Assassin's Creed formula didn't really change in these 2 years, but the fact we weren't bombarded with yearly releases allowed us to get rid of some of the burnout. The subsequent 3-year wait between Valhalla and Mirage, if you don't count the DLCs, however, only served to amplify the watered down nature of Mirage when we finally got our hands on it. The kicker here is that Assassin's Creed Shadows finally gives us a good setting again, with Far East Asia and particularly Japan not having been used in a proper mainline entry before. The islands of Japan and its rich history are perfect for the large-scale open-world formula we saw in Valhalla and Odyssey. Most players would probably agree that if we were going to spend 100 hours exploring an Assassin's Creed game, this is it. But even though Ubisoft has finally given us a setting that's different enough from all the other games to be a compelling new entry in a series that's almost 20 years old, they've wasted the idea on their new scheme of making tighter and more compact entries in this series. Think of all the castles we could have taken down or the shrines we could have explored across the vast land of the Rising Sun had it been developed in the style of Odyssey or Valhalla. Ubisoft has stated that Shadow's map size will be larger than Mirage and closer to Origins, but even if that is the case, we're still only talking about a tiny sliver of the actual country of Japan. Reddit has come in clutch again to show that only the areas around Kyoto and Osaka will actually be playable. Again, this just feels like a huge misfire for Ubisoft, who could have utilised the Japan idea better and made more of a show of the game that we've all craved for them to make for the longest time. To add fuel to the fire, the player base seems more divided than ever. Some fans want shorter games because they're sick of the bloating, while other fans want huge games that they can keep coming back to for months and years until they tick off every objective. There's no doubt that the Assassin's Creed franchise has lost its identity in recent times, and I'm not sure even Ubisoft have a long-term, concrete vision for the games other than making them shorter and more focused. It's time we circled back to answer the thesis of this video. Why Assassin's Creed Shadows can't save the Assassin's Creed franchise from the hands of Ubisoft. While the series still sells well and isn't in imminent danger of just stopping production, Ubisoft's golden age has definitely passed. The company has been embroiled in scandal after scandal in recent years, with top-level Assassin's Creed executives on trial in France for sexual harassment and other horrendous workplace crimes.
This summer, we learned that certain Ubisoft employees did not uphold our company's values, and that our systems failed to protect the victims of their behavior.
On top of that, Ubisoft's idea of a fun new game is X-Defiant, a shooter that ripped off Call of Duty, Overwatch and Apex Legends, and still turned out to be a dumpster fire. So, in the end, while the developers themselves might come up with good ideas and put in hard work in making Assassin's Creed games, the series will inevitably continue to slowly decay at the hands of Ubisoft's top-level executives, who would rather keep pumping out copy and paste games for money rather than fostering the kind of creativity and innovation we saw leaping from Assassin's Creed 1 to 2 or 2 to 3. That's all I have for you today, but I'm curious to know what you think. Are you excited for Shadows? What is the future of Assassin's Creed? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.